Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I have something a bit different for you. As you may have guessed by the title, we're going to be diving a bit into the settlement building system here in Fallout 4. This is going to be sort of a test video to see and gauge the response to this type of content. So if you're a fan of custom Fallout settlement building, or you just like what you see here today, be sure to leave a like and or comment down below letting me know if you want to see more. Now, for those who don't know, Fallout is a post-apocalyptic survival action RPG series that takes place roughly 100 to 200-ish years after the end of the world, depending on which game you're playing. Fallout 4 in particular is set in and around the real-world Boston, Massachusetts, and like its series counterparts, offers much in the way of story, exploration, and role-playing capabilities. But I'm not here today to talk about the world of Fallout. I just wanted to quickly touch on the setting and explain the role-playing nature of the series, as I believe it'll factor in a great deal for this and any potential future builds I do on the channel. If there's anything else you want to know about the history, lore, or story of the Fallout series, I highly recommend checking out other YouTubers and channels such as Oxhorn, Mr. Matty Plays, Shoddycast, or the Epic Nate 315, as they specialize in this kind of stuff. I'll leave a link to all their channels in the description down below. And who knows, maybe if Fallout content does well on this channel, I might do a bit of lore myself. Now, you'll notice quickly here that this is not your average vanilla Fallout 4 build. As my friends and subscribers know, I am a massive Star Wars fan, and sometimes, just for fun, I like to download a bunch of Star Wars related mods for Fallout 4, and sort of Star Warsify, if you will, my playthrough. This is one such case, and the build that I have for you today reflects that. As a side note, if you guys are interested in the mods I used to create this build, or any of the aforementioned Star Wars mods I currently have installed, then be sure to drop a comment down below, and I'd be more than happy to make a video breaking it all down. So, as we approach here, just to briefly set up my own personal lore behind this build, in the game, my game, it's been 5 years since the end of the main story. The Brotherhood, who I've modded up to resemble a sort of Empire/First Order faction, reigns supreme over the Commonwealth. Peace and stability are strictly maintained and overseen by the Brotherhood's stormtroopers and officers, as well as a mysterious, shadowy enforcer who answers only to Elder Maxon. So, after landing here on Spectacle Island, you can see a better close-up of my character, who's meant to be somewhat of a Kylo/Vader, mashup. You can see the Pridwin in the background there, Boston International Airport, the Brotherhood's headquarters in the Commonwealth. And as we take a look over there, we can see Boston in the background, but we are all the way out east of the Boston Harbor, out on a secluded island here on Spectacle Island, where the Brotherhood, over the last 5 years, has overseen the construction of this detention facility. Now, I'm going to be doing the majority of this tour in first person, because I found that doing it this way makes the slightest of differences with my frame rate, which is already going to be atrocious because I have far exceeded the build limit with this, since I have a mod that allows me to turn it off. So, anyways, we're just gonna get stuck right into it and hopefully not crash. So, as we take a walk over here towards the front entrance, you can see a couple of guards outside. We have a couple of sort of standard Brotherhood stormtroopers guarding the entrance, along with a Brotherhood Death Trooper, ready to put down anybody that tries to come in. Something else that I want to make a note of as we start entering into the facility here is, as I mentioned, my frame rate is already going to be atrocious because I've exceeded the build limit so far, and I've put like 45 hours into this build. So that means that there's going to be some lagging and a bunch of other stuff. So for that reason, I've actually fully built everything, but elected to sort of leave out some of the finer decorations and placements of people and guards that I would normally have in a finished version, just for the sake of being able to record and tour this facility without the game crashing on me. So we're gonna take it nice and slow as we enter here and hope for the best. So yeah, just make a note of that. In my sort of head, this would be a little more populated, but as we enter here, we have our sort of main entrance and receiving area. There on the wall, you see the custom Brotherhood flag that is meant to resemble a little more like the First Order insignia or the Empire insignia. We've got a little secretary here who is in charge of sort of intake and recording all of the prisoners that get brought in through here. Let's start, I guess, with the main cell block on the first floor. There are 4 main floors to this facility, and we're going to tour them all along with some other sort of additional add-ons. But on the first floor here, the main part of the first floor is the cell block, the first cell block. We're going to pop inside one of these cells real quick. Actually, not that one, since that one has somebody in it. And, wow, okay, the game has already decided to crash. I will be right back. All right, and we're back now after that crash. Anyways, before we were so rudely interrupted, I was going to duck quickly into one of the cells just to show you how sort of bare bones and minimalistic they are. Basically just a bed for 2 inmates per cell and a toilet, and that's it. That is all they get in their cells. You can see through here, if we backtrack a little bit, we've got some cells that are already occupied by some prisoners just kind of hanging out, doing their thing. There are, let me think, there are 16 cells per sort of, level. There are 2 levels of cells. So 16 cells with the capability for 2 prisoners in each cell leads to a total of 32 prisoners per floor. And I told you there are 2 floors of cells, so this facility has the capability to house 64 prisoners. That, of course, would destroy my Xbox if I were to try to put that many people in the settlement, so we're just gonna avoid that, but, just pretend, just make believe. But anyways, at the end of the hall where the cell block is, we have this sort of little room that's meant to serve as a segue connecting the east and west little corridors. Let's take a trip real quick around the west corridor, which is sort of like a giant circle that goes out west. This elevator is sort of a little bit of an access point that, when entered and taken down, leads to a tunnel that is currently still under construction because they're thinking about expanding this part of the prison. But right now, the staff sort of uses this. If you follow it out here, you see that it ends up sort of at the edge of the facility and over the water. They use this to dispose of trash, food waste, human waste, and or maybe a body or 2. So that's sort of the incomplete section of the prison that's still under construction. But heading back up to the main sort of first floor, I hit the wrong button. That is the correct button. We can continue exploring the west corridor, which, like I said, is a big sort of loop around that will take us eventually back to the lobby. If you look over here, we've got a window that is grated over that you can see through down into a little area that we will explore momentarily. But for now, we continue sort of walking around over here. And when we turn this corner here, you see we end up sort of back where we began, in the main sort of intake/processing area. And again, over here we have another little window that, allows us to look down into this area, which is known simply as the yard. This is where the prisoners, in my mind, work for the majority of the day. And you see there's a powered door here that can only be opened by accessing this switch on this side. And in my little headcanon, I would imagine that only the guards have access to that switch. But descending down these stairs into the yard, you see a bunch of prisoners hard at work farming some mute fruit that we have going on down here. And it appears we also have a couple of guards down here that are just kind of hanging out, doing their thing, watching over the prisoners as they work, making sure everything stays in order. So, yeah, there's that. For the majority of the day, when the prisoners are down there working, that door stays closed, and the only time they come out is when it's mealtime or bedtime. So that is the west corridor. Now if we slowly and carefully, so as not to upset my frames, make our way over to the east corridor, which, by the way, my game seems to really not like looking down long hallways with lights on them. The east corridor is pretty much the same. It's a big circle. We'll take it around. This is sort of meant to, just serve as a throughway, and also meant to resemble sort of old world architecture in castles and prisons from like the medieval times, where they would build corridors specifically meant to confuse workers or prisoners or slaves, so that if they tried to escape, they would end up, sort of running in circles or getting lost or, that sort of thing. So that's why there's just a big empty corridor there, but the real sort of attraction on the east corridor on the first floor is this little elevator here that takes us down into a little secret area. If you press this button, well, no, not that button. If you press this button, rather, it takes you down into a secret subterranean medical and research facility. Down here, you see we have a guard sort of watching over things, as we have a sealed off room where doctors are at work. Doctors, scientists, researchers, experimenting on prisoners, taking a look over at a destroyed synth, cultivating some potentially new type of flora for use. Over here, also treating a couple of injured workers that got injured during the building. And then over here in the back, beside our robo-brain typing away with some info, we have our little sort of interrogation center being overseen by this doctor, as that patient is undergoing some sort of testing or interrogation. This primarily is one of the only reasons why my character, who, as you can imagine, is probably very busy with tasks all across the Commonwealth, comes to this facility to conduct specific interrogations or things of that sort. So this is a place that my character is familiar with, and the scientists know and fear me, in the same way that Imperial scientists would fear Lord Vader. Getting that Star Wars roleplay, Anyways, heading back up and proceeding down this hallway very slowly as my frame rate erodes, we will come back to the initial sort of entrance into the main sort of lobby area of the first floor. So far so good. There are two, I don't know if you guys saw when we came in, but there are two main towers, if you will. Both are elevator shafts that lead up for several floors. The one that we just passed down as we exited the east corridor is sort of a private area that we will touch on later, but for now, we're going to go down this hallway, which actually doesn't seem to be killing my system too bad. Anyways, as we approach the end of this hallway, normally there's supposed to be a guard stationed here. I don't know why there isn't. But anyways, hopping on the elevator here, take it up to the second floor, which in a lot of ways is very similar to the first. Now this elevator is the sort of staff elevator that the guards and workers and prisoners, under supervision of course, use to navigate the floors. The only areas where the prisoners are allowed are the first two floors of this facility. So the floor we just explored and the floor that we are getting onto now. So, as we exit the elevator corridor and enter the second floor, you'll see that we have a relatively similar setup to the first floor in that we have a cell block up here. Once again, 16 cells, 32 beds on this floor, combined with the 32 beds on the first floor, adding up to 64 total beds for prisoners. You got a couple prisoners up here too, kind of just hanging out, doing their thing. There's one. At the end of the hallway here, however, we do have a little bit of a differentiation that I will explore once we come back from our second crash. Alright, back at it again from our second crash, still on the second floor of the facility here. As we make our way to the end of cell block B, you'll see that we have a red door at the end here. This serves as the facility's laundromat, where guards and prisoners can come and take care of their laundry and other things. We do work them hard here, but we're not, total monsters. They can wash their clothes and, go about their lives in that way. Another sort of thing that's here on the second floor, that's probably the only other big attraction here, is what I sort of envisioned of being the prisoners' cafeteria. Now, there's no one in here except for the mess officer, because, like I said, no unnecessary NPCs to clutter things up. But basically, if you take a look around here, I've got a set of tables laid out for eating. As I was first sort of envisioning this room, I had a guard sort of posted on each wall, set up to watch over things, and then over here we have our mess officer. We've got a little bit of a line here. She's got some food and drink storage back there, as well as a sink, and stuff laid out to be served, food, beverage dispenser, and then I actually do have her set up to function as a bartender, merchant, selling food and drink. So that is a nice little bonus. Not that it'll ever actually be used, but hey, it's there. I did it. And then in the corner here, some trash cans and drinking fountains. So yeah, that is basically everything that's on the second floor. We have 2 more floors to get to as I waddle my way back down the elevator corridor. So as I mentioned before, that is all the area of this facility that prisoners have access to. There are other parts of it, of course, that we are about to explore, but, that's as far as the prisoners go. So, now, carrying up to the 3rd floor of the facility, this is sort of the main staff and workers floor. The majority of the staff lives and sort of sleeps and exists on this floor whenever they're not on duty, guarding the prisoners sort of downstairs. Anyways, eroding my frame rate in this corridor as we slowly chug our way towards the end. It opens up into a room here that makes you either choose to go left, right, or out this white door. Now, this was definitely the most intricate floor of this facility as far as design goes. It took me a minute to sort of figure out exactly what I wanted to do up here. But as you can see, and by the signs indicating, we have a male and female sort of bunk little room. Taking a look through the male bunk room, it's just a bunch of, bunk beds and foot lockers, and there's a guy right there looking like he's making his bed or looking for something. And, again, the custom Brotherhood flag on the wall there. Normally I would want to decorate this with so much more, but if I put even the tiniest little extra thing here, I guarantee the game would crash. There's also an open door here that leads to the cafeteria area, the common area for the staff. But before we go in there, we're going to take a look down this little hall. And inside this door here is sort of the male shower room, where, the male workers can come in here and shower themselves. Anyways, so that, connects directly to the male quarters. And then as we exit here into the big common room, this is where I bet you the game is going to struggle the most with all these lights. I built two little bathrooms in here. They're identical. Just a little, toilet and a sink. One right there, one right there. Similarly to the prisoner sort of dining room, it's got the tables laid out. And this area over here is where I would envision staff preparing meals and serving out here. Again, something that I would love to decorate fully and animate fully, but, my current limitations prevent me from doing so. But, use your imagination. And then, as we proceed through here, this is sort of the females' side of things. Similarly to the males, the females have a shower little room that is connected by corridor directly to, well, I shouldn't say directly to, because there is this little, vestibule in between, but then you go through here and directly into their quarters, which, very similar to the men's, except for a couple of, little differences. Still got some foot lockers. We've got a woman here sweeping. Still got a flag. But, yeah, that's the male and female quarters. And then if you exit through that door over there, we're back where we started on this floor. Back over here. Now, there was the male quarters, the female quarters, and then this door to the right. We're going to go out here now and take a walk along this little sort of, I don't really know what to call it. It's sort of like an observation / sort of clear your head platform. This is where the guards and workers go, whenever they have time off to sort of look out. It's the only real place in the facility, aside from another location that we're going to see shortly, where you can see outside the facility. As a prison facility, obviously the feeling here is meant to be somewhat drab and dreary, but up here for the workers, in order to make them not completely lose their minds, we have, viewports to the outside so they can take a look at the wonderful, beautiful, destroyed Earth all around them. And then if you saw, as we were coming by here, there's also a bridge out over this sort of gap here, which looks down over the yard. And occasionally, I do have guards that are up here that patrol around here, and they'll stand, up here, and, over there, and, over there, and stuff like that, and they can clear their head, but also serve as, sort of overhead watch, keeping an eye on what's going on down in the yard. So that's our little sort of terrace, if you will. Let's call it a terrace. Yeah, sure, why not? So yeah, with all of that, that pretty much completes the third floor. We're going to duck so that the lights don't crash our game, and skirt our way back over towards the elevator so that we can get our way up to the fourth floor. Hopefully without crashing, but, we'll see. So yeah, this was, as I mentioned before, this was a lot of fun to make, but it was also, definitely intensive and definitely is very hard on my game. I play on just a regular Xbox. I don't have an Xbox One X, so Xbox One is pretty much all I got. And all of the limitations that come with it, I am locked at this extremely low frame rate, and I have tons of mods downloaded, and I'm way over the build limit, so that's why everything is so slow and why I have to take everything so slow. But regardless of that, the creativity factor, I believe, is still here, and it's all still looking good. So, here on the 4th floor, we have basically just 3 main rooms. Off to the left here, we have sort of our makeshift firing range, where the staff can come and, grab a weapon off the wall and aim down the range and fire. And we have a little door over there that enters the room, and you can have access to the targets in there and, do whatever you want. We have some armor racks over here for storage of armor and heavy weapons and other weapon containers, as well as some stuff on the wall there. Those are all, custom weapons. Those 2 are from a mod that adds a bunch of Star Wars weapons. We got the Vulcan, which is the Republic sort of clone sniper rifle. And we got the DLT-19 or DXT-19 or something like that. That's the, Imperial sniper. And then we got the solar cannon, which is actually a Creation Club mod. So that's sort of there. Entering through here, as this sign suggests, is sort of the officers' quarters. Officers and leading, sort of figures here in the prison have their own little private room up here away from the rest of the general staff. It's not super private, but they all at least get to sleep in their own sort of bed. They've got a little relaxation area with some drinks, some personal, sort of storage for clothing and equipment over there. And it's just sort of meant to be a little nice, secluded place for the officers to feel important, I guess, as they sleep and live at the end of the day. But anyways, cutting that, we now enter sort of the main command center area. I don't know why this door is open. It's supposed to be closed, but once again, we've got our custom Brotherhood flags on full display in here as we enter the command center. Now, this facility is a prison, but since it's in such a secluded and remote location, the Brotherhood has also deemed it a valuable sort of little place for tactical analysis and strategy. So we've got a bunch of things up here that are, computer related and planning related. Again, got a robo-brain typing away. Got a couple officers in here, one taking notes of stuff that's happening on the holo map in the middle of the room that we stole from the Institute, by the way, after we destroyed them. Got a couple of TVs over here on the wall. One's on standby, one's playing Nuka World ads for some reason. Some satellite equipment, some computer monitoring equipment, some screens, and then over here we've got sort of our commanding officer for the facility, who is in charge of pretty much everything here. And his computers, his desk, his little workstation. And yeah, this is just a nice little room. I also have a mod installed that allows me to place a bunch of things that can be interacted with. So if I were to get other NPCs up here and settlers wandering around in this room, they'd be interacting with this stuff. Like if I were to go in third person right here, hopefully not crash, you can see that you can interact with these things, stare at the monitors and take notes, and there's a thing over here where you can interact with the table here. You plan on it, that sort of thing. And there's even a nice little thing over here in the corner with all these files. And somebody can be assigned to sort of sorting these files and categorizing them. That sort of thing. Not work that my character, of course, does, but I thought I'd just show that to you for demonstration purposes. So yeah, anyway, that is the 4th floor. And it is sort of the conclusion of the general staff areas for this facility. Now, I did mention earlier that there are 2 main sort of elevator shafts and towers. And this one only goes up to, 4th floor. This is as far as this one goes up. But we did see the other one earlier, but we passed by it, and I told you we'd be saving it for later. Now is the time to sort of go explore that. So as I slowly traipse down this hall, so not as to murder my Xbox, I'll sort of explain it. So, like I said, my character doesn't necessarily spend a whole lot of time at this facility, but when he is summoned here for one reason or another, he of course needs his own sort of quarters to exist in and conduct business from and sort of, occupy, set away from the rest of the rabble in the facility. And that is why the second tower has been constructed. That is like 3 stories taller than the other tower that leads up for the majority of everything else. So, over here, we have a little additional personal secretary with a microphone here that sort of takes appointments for me, or if anybody needs to see me while I'm here at this facility, they come down and they let her know, and she uses the microphone to call up and inform me if it's actually important. But this is the little sort of partition that only I have access to. And beyond here, this portion of this facility is strictly for my character. We enter a dark little elevator shaft here that, as we take up all the way, since there's not really anything in between, leads to another elevator that, if we take this one up all the way, so we're now up 7 stories up in the air, we enter sort of my private tower area. So, over here, just got your basic workbenches set up for, just doing stuff and crafting stuff. Not that I can do much here without the game crashing, but, it's there. I also have a door here leading up and to the outside. This is the only other part of the facility where you can go and sort of see the outside from within. We've got my own little personal balcony here, all the way up here. You go take a look, you can see the Prydwen off in the distance, and that all the way down there is where we began. And now we're all the way up here at the very highest point of the facility. We also have, just some power all along there, power nodes and generators and stuff, and we've got our custom Brotherhood flags flying proudly, waving in the wind. But anyways, entering back into the little tower area, this is just the sort of, base area. Going up these stairs here is actually my quarters proper. Got some stuff over here. Some sort of relaxation areas, storage, computers for interacting with stuff, and over here we have a remembrance of Sean, the sole survivor's son, who was the director of the Institute and died during the events of the main quest that you can kneel at and pay tribute to. Because even though this character is cold and ruthless, he still misses his son. Getting up from that, there's also one of these, one of these interactable Institute chairs that you can sort of like lay in and pretend that, crazy cybernetic stuff is happening to your body in. But yeah, that is pretty much it for the personal quarters of the player character up here. I was also tempted to put a bed up here, but eventually decided against it since, like I said, there's a relative impermanence for my character staying here or being here at all, so no bed. So, that is the majority of the facility. I can't really think, that's pretty much all of it, actually. Like I said before, ideally in a more finished and polished version of this build, there would be lots more NPCs, guards, prisoners wandering around doing things. But that is the gist of it. Like I said, I built everything and sort of had everything, the way that I wanted it to. I just couldn't necessarily decorate it to the extent that I wanted to or populate it to the extent that I wanted to. We will do one more thing before signing off here. I'm going to put on something here that allows me to basically fly after we autosave and exit the facility here. Same way we came in, only way in and out.
They have liberated the Commonwealth.
And then just to give you guys sort of a scale of how big this thing is, let's jump up into the sky here. That's the main sort of elevator tower. That's my personal tower. There's the yard over there and the main sort of part of the facility. So yeah, that is my Spectacle Island Imperial Brotherhood prison. Like I said earlier, this sort of content is something that I'm trying out for the first time. And if it's something that you guys would like to see more of, please let me know. Engage with me. I would be more than happy to share additional work that I've done here. I also wanted to get this build in particular out of the way so that I can delete this save and make the game run a little faster, hopefully. But yeah, I do have other custom builds that I could show off if that's something that people are down to see. But yeah, so let me know what's up. And thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like and or subscribe if you want to see more. And I'll catch you guys in my next video. Later.